Hello, everybody. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. This is Joan Ifland. I am Dr. Joan Ifland, the uh, lead editor, and author of this book, Processed Food Addiction. I have learned in the last week that this is a really important reference and textbook and just a general great read. I have so much to report this week about processed food addiction. I was at a conference for 2 days last week at Swedish Hospital here in Seattle, meeting really, really top-notch medical professionals. And I have to say, everyone is interested in processed food addiction, and they're super glad to see this book. So welcome to Hidden in Plain Sight. Food Addiction. This is a production of Food Addiction Reset TV. I'm very glad to have you here this week. I am going to be reporting about the conference. So as you know, the theme of this show is to cover what is not being covered in the media and to straighten out these stories from the media that are either missing big chunks or just plain old deceptive. Well, this week we're going to take a little break from covering the media, and we are going to cover this conference. It's metabolic health and nutrition over the lifespan. It just brought the most incredible innovators in the field. I am going to tell you about procedures and processes that are developed, that are effective, that might seem miraculous for diseases that mainstream media is telling us are not curable. So I met some of the people who have developed quote unquote cures for diabetes, for fatty liver, for Alzheimer's, and we are going to have an incredible show. So the people that I'm going to be talking about this week, first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Wolfram Abelson, who got me there and got us a table for the book and got us introduced around. So Wolfram is our new business manager. He's pretty amazing. He sat on the committee that put together this conference. I was shocked to learn from him that almost no hospitals have conferences on nutrition, like a 2-day, very heavy-hitting conference on nutrition. So I have to really commend Swedish Hospital in Seattle, Washington. They are on the cutting edge. They want their medical professionals to know what you and I know, which is that food addiction is the driver in a lot of different diseases. So this week, after shouting out to Wolfram, I'm going to talk about a particular clinic in South Oregon called the Stone Medical Clinic, Ashland, Oregon. We had 3 speakers, 2 doctors and their nutritionist daughter, a husband and wife team, who just laid it on the line. We are living in a culture where our lifestyle, and it's not our lifestyle, it's not the lifestyle we picked, but the lifestyle that has been kind of put upon us by commercial interests is what is making us sick, and they have a very novel and effective approach to dealing with it. So stay tuned. You will learn something new and exciting there. And then I want to talk about Jeff Stanley. Wow, Dr. Stanley from a company called Virta Health. You think diabetes cannot be fixed? You just don't buy that. And we're going to talk about what Virta Health is doing to consistently and normally and routinely put diabetes into remission. So I'm really excited that you're here and that you're going to be hearing that. Of course, my hero, Robert Lustig, was at this conference, and I have to say I'm always glad to be reporting on him. and today is no exception. And we're going to talk about what processed foods do to our livers. If you don't have a functioning liver, you're not a happy camper. And Dr. Lustig really brings that out. So we're going to be talking about his presentation as well. Now, and then I'm going to have one little tiny sour note, and I apologize already, but I think it's really important to cover advice from this. We're going to cover some advice from a mindfulness expert, and I am not going to name the name of this presenter. The presentation was 90% really fantastic and 10% deadly. Advice that to a food addict could kill a food addict. So stay tuned. This is going to be very, very exciting. I also want to give a big shout out to Julie Bennett, who is running the behind the scenes on this show. I'm so grateful to her. And I want to talk about a publication that she has put out. This is a guide to the food addiction reset community. It's got a lot of great recipes in it. Julie has a great talent for recipe development, not just recipe development, but also presentation, photography, and she has a great gift for teaching. She is a methodical teacher. If you don't know where to start on your journey to get over processed food addiction, please get Julie's book. It is on Amazon. It's in Amazon Unlimited, so you can take that book out. If you have Amazon Prime, you can take it out for free. And I cannot encourage you enough to check out Julie's book. It is Julie Bennett at Amazon. So thank you, Julie. Thank you for writing that book, that incredible book. And also thank you for running the show tonight. Last minute, whole thing. Julie can do it. Okay, let's get to our first topic. I met three really spectacular people. They were the first presenters on the program. I have never met doctors like this before. It's Dr. Michael Stone. He's an MD. And Dr. Leslie Stone. Michael is her husband. She's also an MD. And they are doctors in the field of functional medicine. And this is so exciting. I don't think I really appreciated what functional medicine was about until last week. And now I'm on fire about it. Please look. If you need, if you're just tired of the pharmaceuticals and the surgery route and the bad advice and the low-calorie food plans that don't work and make us worse, please, please, please go to the Institute of Functional Medicine website and start to look for a functional medicine doctor in your neighborhood. So what is functional medicine? So instead, the traditional doctors, Western trained doctors, somebody comes in and they present symptoms. Maybe they're thirsty all the time, and they're peeing a lot, and they're gaining weight, and they're tired. But I am not a diagnostician. I'm not a trained diagnostician, but somebody might diagnose diabetes from that. And so you get the diabetes educator, and they tell you how much medication to take and how to read your glucose, and off you go. You have presented a set of symptoms, we've gotten a diagnosis, and we've gotten medication. And yes, you do get a diet, but the general advice is take the medication and watch your numbers. Well, functional medicine listens to those symptoms, but then they go underneath and they ask, what could be causing this? So maybe it is diabetes, but what is causing it? So they go to the function that causes the problem. And of course, when you have all of our epidemics today are based on our quote unquote lifestyle, a lifestyle that we did not choose, a lifestyle that was pushed on us because it's profitable. It's profitable to sit in front of the television and eat processed foods. It's profitable. It's incredibly profitable. It's obscenely profitable. So we didn't choose this website lifestyle. We don't choose a lot of what we're doing if we're exposed to the neuroscientists at a lot of commercial entities. So not just processed foods, but also pharmaceuticals, for example. So what these two doctors noticed is that when their daughter became a nutritionist, and then they had a nutritionist counseling people about their lives, about their daily routines, about how things work for them, all of a sudden they started getting incredible results. Well, we know that, of course. We know that at the Addiction Reset Community, which is an online program that we offer at www.foodaddictionreset.com. Well, I want to tell you that Dr. Michael Stone zoomed over to the table where we had the processed food addiction textbook, and he stayed and talked with me for a long time. He took a hard copy of the book, and he came back the next day. And we started talking about doing a study in his office. He was so on fire about this concept. He said he wanted me to come down. They have hired their second nutritionist. They wanted me to come down and get her organized to do a study of our program, our Addiction Reset Community. He was very impressed with the book. And I will tell you, over the course of 2 days, talking to these very, very high-level medical people, what I noticed is that when they saw the book, and they saw that it was published by CRC Press, and they flipped through and they saw page after page after page of studies and studies and more studies, you could just see them shift. You could just see them shift. Oh, this is real. And not only is it real, but it's an answer. So when Michael and Leslie Stone's daughter, Emily, came over to the table, she practically pounced on the book. She said, "This is what we've been looking for. This is what is missing. Where have you been?" And I said, well, I had my head in the research for 3 years to write that book. It has 2,000 citations in it. It's a beautifully built book. And I can brag about it because I really do feel that I was just the conduit. I was the channel through which that book came. But I read parts of that book like I was reading it for the first time, much less having written it. So it was exhilarating to meet them. And I started to plan a trip sometime this summer. I will leave Seattle and drive down through Oregon to meet them and then some other people along the way. So it's very exciting. And I will tell you something else super, super cool, which is that the Institute for Functional Medicine collaborates with the Academy of, I'm going to say, functional health coaches. And the Academy has turned out tens of thousands of health coaches. So Michael Stone teaches for them. He seemed to be very interested in incorporating information about processed food addiction in his teachings. So just suddenly I have this vision of these tens of thousands of health coaches getting it, getting the ability to identify, diagnose processed food addiction, and then treat with an abstinent food plan and lots of support, and looking at the person's relationships and who they eat with, all the things, the stress factors, sleep hygiene, exercise, all those things that food addicts are prevented from doing and prevented from working on because processed foods are so devastating. We don't have the energy or the mental clarity or the confidence. And so to be in a system which is rebuilding us from the foundation up, is exciting. It's really exciting. I'm going to tell you a secret. One of my secrets is that I've had an affirmation for a couple of years now for myself, which is I can reach all 2 billion food addicts on the planet. And I was just led to that affirmation. It sounds like pie in the sky. It sounds like impossible. But I do think when we want to do something good and we're headed in that direction, that our higher power or the forces out there will meet us and help us. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. But wouldn't it be amazing if this huge group of health coaches that have graduated from this academy were to be able to counsel, to coach on processed food addiction. I just think that would be amazing. And it got a lot closer over the weekend. So I do know that the Stones practiced over the internet. So if you want to get their get on their website, make an appointment. They're incredible. They're incredible. So they also said some things that were really difficult for most people to know, and that is that this is something I tell people. People will ask me all the time, should I get a vitamin and mineral panel? Should I get a big evaluation? And what I say is no, because you're going to change so much. Well, I don't say no because I'm not allowed to comment on that kind of thing. But what I do say is, if you're getting on a clean food plan, you're going to change a lot for the better. So maybe wait, wait 6 months until you have, until you're really clean and sober, and you've got a lot of improvements lined up. Now, I did not just diagnose. I did not just give medical advice. Always go to your doctor if you feel like you need to. So, but that's what they said. Somebody in the audience. Now, the audience, my goodness, the audience was also incredible. So these were a lot of doctors. Usually conferences don't attract doctors, certainly not for 2 days. But these doctors, physicians assistants, nurses, dietitians, I think a lot of them were from the area, and they were from Swedish Hospital, and they were very, these are the cutting edge professionals to so it's guiding. Okay, John, the is fair nutrition. Haven't your home that would be because here telling you us is and who have made billions of dollars. So one of them was the creator of Instagram. And he sold his company, I think, for $3 billion. Billion, guys, billion. Makes him a very wealthy person. And I have to give him a lot of credit because what he did with his $3 billion, and not all of it, was to start a health coaching company online specifically for diabetics. He knew that diabetes can be put into full remission with the right food plan. And so he knew that processed foods were the problem. And he knew that the American Diabetes Association was recommending processed foods. They're recommending that diabetics eat the very foods that cause diabetes in the first place. So that's where he put his effort. He founded a company called Virta Health, and he got the experts in who know how to put diabetes into remission, and they are doing it. So this is a service that you can sign up for. What they are actually doing is approaching employers. I don't know if you know this, but on average, it costs $13,000 a year to treat diabetes. Remember, diabetes is a disease that we did not ask for. It was foisted upon us. It is related to eating too much sugar. In my opinion, it's really related to the tobacco companies selling sugar to children, advertising aggressively to children, soft drinks, etc. All that sugar. And then, diabetes is the result. So we saw some figures, like 52% of Americans are either pre-diabetic, diagnosed as diabetic, or have diabetes and don't know it. That's a staggering number, half of Americans. So that is, that's incredibly exciting. They're going to employers and they're saying, now this is expensive. It's $400 a month for a year. I mean, the ARC, the Addiction Reset Community, is you pay what you like, you pay what you want, you pay what you can. Nonetheless, if they go to an employer and they say for $4,800, we can put this employee's diabetes into remission, and that will save you $13,000, do the math. You know, that employer is going to save $9,000 a year. So they're doing great. They're attracting people, and they're giving them basically our food plan, the food plan that we use to recover from food addiction. And they're giving them a lot of online coaching. So that is what we know. That is what we know. That we know that is what turns the corner. It's the online coaching with experts, with people who know what they're doing. So every day, they are proving that diabetes can be put into remission. They have doctors like Dr. Stanley is licensed in 49 states. So he can adjust medications in 49 states. You can do this online with a real live MD. You know, we're not allowed, of course, to prescribe or comment on medications at the Addiction Reset Community. But oh my goodness, Dr. Stanley sure is. I spent a lot of time with him. I was just so grateful that there's an outfit out there that is telling the truth about diabetes. Diabetes is curable, and that is hidden in plain sight. Diabetes can be put into full remission as long as you don't start reintroducing sugar. Diabetes can go away for an entire lifetime. So I'm so grateful to meet him and grateful for his presentation. And I was kind of looking around the room. Everybody in that room knew this. That you can put diabetes into remission was not a surprise. The diabetes is caused by overuse of particularly processed carbohydrates, but particularly sugar, high fructose corn syrup. That is accepted. common knowledge among these very cutting edge health professionals. And I was so proud of Swedish Hospital for hosting the conference. I was proud of Wolfram for pulling in the speakers. Not all of them. There was a committee of about 8 people who put that conference together. It took them a year and a half to put that conference together, and I was just so proud of them. I was really proud to be there and grateful. My whole view of the world, I'm going to be honest with you, my whole view of the world changed in 2 days. There is an army of people out there who know what we know. We know that processed foods cause terrible diseases. And then we have a piece that they don't have, which is we know how to get people to get enough support, enough, just kindness and compassion. And I always say a virtual arm around the shoulders. That's the piece that we know how to do. And they were very interested in that. So, I really, really didn't have any idea how long it would take for what we know to do to get out there in the world. But I think what I could see over and over again is that it was the textbook. It was the reference book. When people would open it, they would see pages after page after page of citations. They knew it was grounded in research, and you could just see them accepting, making that shift to, oh gosh, this is real, isn't it? Yeah, so it was really just amazing. So let me do a little station break here again. The name of the company that I just mentioned is Verta Health. That's VITRA. VIRTA, Verta Health. If you want to put your diabetes into full remission, please get on their website and get signed up with them just for yourself. If you could go to your employer, I know for a lot of people it's not safe to go to your employer, but maybe you could ask Verta Health to make an appointment with your employer and then get the employer to pay for it. So they pay out $4,800 and they save $13,000. I think that's a pretty good deal. Okay. This is food addiction reset television for television. I am Dr. Joan Ifland. I am the author and lead editor of this book. processed food addiction, so that's not really about processed foods and their role in obesity as well as most other diseases. The other thing, the other book he has, which is his new book, is The Hacking of the American Mind. And he goes through in detail how the neuroscientists, commercial neuroscientists, train our brains to crave. It's just a brilliant book. I told him that it dovetails the food addiction book really closely. They're on a spectrum of explanations for what the heck has happened to us. And so he's just a very dynamic speaker. If you have some time, go to YouTube and put in Robert Lustig. He's a very dynamic speaker. Just terrific. So you guys know we spent a whole section of Hidden in Plain Sight on the hacking of the American mind. Cannot recommend it enough. So what he talked about in detail at the conference is something that is so horrifying. This program should have a rating, like terrifying. It should be rated as a horror show. Not really. Okay, so what he talked about was how high fructose corn syrup acts like corn alcohol. And he is a neuroendocrinologist. He practiced with children. He's a pediatric neuroendocrinologist. So he's seen these children come through his clinic with livers that were not working. Now, liver's not working because of fat is something that you would see in an alcoholic. So alcohol has so much carbohydrate in it that the liver cannot send it out to all the places where it could be used. And instead, the liver has to fast, turn it into fat and store it itself. And then you have a fatty liver and your liver stops working. So what do livers do that's so important anyway? Well, livers manufacture the enzymes that break down our food, for example. Livers also create a lot of the precursors for hormones, for example. So if you don't have a functioning liver, you're not breaking down your food and your hormones aren't working. Well, that's really bad in an adult. And it's reversible. You get off the alcohol, you get on a clean food plan, you change your lifestyle, and your fatty liver goes away. And your liver starts to work again. Your hormones start to work again. You start to be able to break down and absorb food, and life gets pretty incredibly great. When that shows up in a child, in a 5-year-old, when a 5-year-old comes into someone like Dr. Lustig with fatty liver, that's terrifying. So he makes the point that people who would never give their kid a beer do give their kids soft drinks. And they destroy the child's liver. Now, it is reversible. But can you imagine a child whose liver can't break down food? That child is basically being malnourished right in front of our very eyes. Or can't regulate hormones? How is that child going to develop? So please, everybody, tell everybody you know that giving a child a soda is just like giving a child a beer. It's that harmful and addictive, of course. So it was really, really good to hear Dr. Lustig again. Now, the other thing that he did point out is that high fructose corn syrup is in 80% of processed foods. So this is a big reason why we feel so much better when we get off of processed foods. The invention of high fructose corn syrup really coincides with the escalation of the obesity epidemic. I think with all the evidence that Dr. Lustig presented, we can say pretty clearly that high fructose corn syrup is a factor in the rise of obesity. So again, not very many doctors will tell you to get off the processed foods, but there were 220 people in attendance. And I looked at like the remaining name tags at the end. They sold 220 seats, and there were about 6 name tags that didn't get picked up. That's really amazing. Just so thankful for the people who worked on that. Okay. Now, for my last topic of discussion, I want to talk about mindfulness. You guys know I have some pretty strong opinions about mindfulness. Mindfulness is overblown as a treatment modality for overeating. Like if you had an alcoholic, you would never say to an alcoholic, oh, just develop a mindfulness practice. Like really drink slowly and think about the alcohol that you're drinking. No, that would not work. That would not work. Alcohol is an addictive substance, and the person has to get abstinent if they're going to. And then once you're abstinent, or if you're working towards getting abstinent, if you're working towards getting the substances out of your system that are making you crazy, then you have a chance. Then mindfulness is fantastic. So we practice mindfulness. We advocate for mindfulness in the Addiction Reset community. We have a little routine we do in our first video meetup of the day, and occasionally we'll do a 1-minute meditation. A meditation is not hard. Really, just looking at something like your finger for 1 minute is really all you have to do. Pull your mind back to your finger. Breathe slowly and deeply. It's a great mood changer, and it's really good for cravings. So I am very much in support of mindfulness. Now, what happened? So this presenter is going on and on about mindfulness. It was really an excellent presentation. She's talking about how mindfulness helps with brain fog, memory loss, indecision, attention span, restraint. And these are all things that we know. We see in the research. We see research showing the processed foods cause these problems. So as you guys might know, when you eat processed foods or when you get triggered by an advertisement or by seeing somebody else eat it or by having it made available to you, you get this tsunami of dopamine, and that dopamine literally switches off the frontal lobe. This is where the braking system is. This is where you would remember why you don't eat it, or make the decision not to eat it, or put on your brakes, exercise your restraint system. Those are all in the frontal lobe. But when you get this tsunami, this big wave, this flood, one really prominent researcher called it a flood of dopamine. That dopamine switches off the frontal lobe, switches off all those functions. So yes, mindfulness does strengthen those functions. And as I said, it's really valuable. So where she lost me was, now she's standing, she's a really good speaker. I'm right with her, and I'm loving everything that she's saying. And then she says, I'm not going to name the food. So she named one of the worst, most highly addictive, horrible foods out there. And she's she's teaching these health professionals in the room. And what she's saying to them, if you have a patient who sees that horrible food and really wants it, well, go ahead and have it. And I nearly fell over. I thought, no, she didn't just say that. She didn't just say that. So this would like being saying to an alcoholic, if you see that drink and you really want it, go ahead and have it. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. That's called a relapse. That's called reintroducing a highly addictive toxic substance and rekindling, restimulating the whole addictive pathway, and then suffering through 4 days of withdrawal and having heightened cravings for alcohol, maybe even weeks after that. So she lost me there. She lost me. But when that happens now, I'm really going to try to focus on all the things that we do have in common. So we have this great admiration and belief in training the brain to be calm through a lot of these mindfulness techniques. And I'm going to really start focusing on what I have in common with her. I may come across her again. I hope I do. And I'm going to start with what we have in common. So a lot of these speakers, they were right on the money. They were talking about fatty liver. They were talking about diabetes. We're talking about even insulin dysfunction. And that's where our common ground is. Now, maybe their food plan wasn't exactly what we do, but they knew the processed foods had to get out. And so I'm going to really start focusing on what I have in common and then building from there. And maybe around the edge, being able to slip in some food addiction treatment concepts like abstinence, like tremendous lifetime support, etc. So that was my only little fly in the ointment for the whole conference. It was just incredible. Okay, we are ready to wind up. Julie has another book out, the Julie Bennett recipe book, and I don't see it here, but do go and look at that. Also, don't forget, please, go to foodaddictionreset.com, sign up for this newsletter. So this show, there you go. Thank you, Julie. Julie's Abstinent Recipes, another beautiful book. Just hop over to Amazon after the show and have a look at it. So Julie Bennett, Food Addiction, will get you there. Or I'm sure Julie's putting the links up. But do hop over also to Food Addiction Reset. This program, Hidden in Plain Sight, Food Addiction, is based on our newsletter, which will come out on Sunday. So the newsletter that we reported on in the show will come out on Sunday. Be sure to sign up for it so that you can review this. We go over, maybe we go over too much information in each show, but you have the recording at YouTube and it's on our website. You have the recording of all these shows, and then you can get the newsletter on Sunday and go over it again so that you get it and you can use it. Okay. We will next week, we will be having a special for joining the Addiction Reset community. It'll be 5 days where we will be offering a bonus if you join in that time frame. So please watch for that. If you're on one of our email lists, you will be getting emails for that bonus week, and we'll be talking about it on Facebook as well. If you haven't already joined us at Food Addiction Education at Facebook, that is a great place to just join the conversation. I post discussion questions there. Sheila Yount posts our handouts. We're intent on giving you the information that will set you free, literally. I care about you so much. And I want you to be free from this terrible, terrible disease. I got free 22 years ago. And I've been fighting for you, putting together information, demonstrating the disease to other professionals. And I think the textbook is a real breakthrough. If you are going to a health professional, please Print out the page at Amazon, that the page for the textbook, and take it with you. So print out this image and take it with you. Show that health professional that there is an entire textbook published by CRC Press on this disease, 2,000 citations. And maybe you will get the shift that I saw over and over again on the 2 days of this conference. Maybe that will be enough to persuade that health professional that they should listen to you, that they should respect you, that they should care about you and give you the best support they can, the same way I want to. Okay, let's do a little recap and then I'll let you go. So this edition of Food Addiction Reset Television, Hidden in Plain Sight, we covered a conference at Swedish Hospital. The conference was Metabolic Health and Nutrition over the Lifespan. Excellent conference. The first talk that I reported on is from Dr. Michael Stone and Dr. Leslie Stone, and they are the Stones of Stone Medical Clinic in Ashland, Oregon. Their daughter, Emily, was with them, and she was incredible. She's a nutritionist. So if you want another opinion, that might be a really good place to go. We also learned about Virta Health. We met just an outstanding young doctor, Jeff Stanley, who is licensed in 49 states and can adjust your medication as your diabetes goes into remission. That's Virta Health. If you have diabetes and you don't want to have diabetes, do get on their website and ask them maybe how to get your employer to pay for it. Okay, and then we had our hero, Robert Lustig, talking about fatty liver. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. He's the author of The Hacking of the American Mind, and he's an expert endocrinologist. He's a pediatric neuroendocrinologist who retired to spend full time fighting this battle in many venues. He also holds a master in law because he knows, oh, good, there's Robert's first book. Because he knows that this could, I hope, turn into a legal battle someday. Get the courts involved and start to expose what has happened to Americans. And then lastly, we talked about a wonderful presenter who I'm not going to name, who gave a terrific presentation on mindfulness and then blew the whole thing when she said that health practitioners, if their patients want to eat something really horrible, that they should let them go ahead and do it. So that just is somebody who needs better training in how to train their patients, how to teach their patients about cravings management. I will say that I think foodaddictionreset.com has the best programs on the planet for controlling cravings and giving people control over their food. So when you get to foodaddictionreset.com, scroll down and find the Addiction Reset community. And for heaven's sake, sign up for it. It's a great program. It's not expensive. It's a lot of fun. And you're getting it. I'm there in those video meetups. I'm there on the conference call. And I know this disease. I wrote the book. So thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed being with you. I do hang out at Food Addiction Education all the time. So come and meet me there, post your questions there, or here at the business site. And I will see you next week. We will uncover more mysteries related to food addiction. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.